The contrast across the United Kingdom couldn't be more striking at the moment. And over the next 7 to 10 days, we are looking at a significant pattern shift that deserves your attention. Right now, across West Wales and southwestern England, you are dealing with wind warnings in force. Gusts reaching 65 miles per hour are possible through Tuesday. Some areas are still recovering from Storm Goretti. The winds are strong, conditions are wet, and it's been rather unsettled. Eastern areas have been experiencing something quite different. Brighter conditions, some sunny spells, and relatively dry weather. Temperatures running around 7 to 9 degrees Celsius, not particularly cold for mid-January, but rather dull and grey in places like Birmingham and the Midlands. Eastern Scotland faces a different challenge altogether. The Met Office has issued rainfall warnings from Wednesday through to Friday. We're re-looking at potentially 120 millimetres of rain building up over the highest ground. The wind direction is coming in off the North Sea from a southeasterly angle, which is fairly unusual. This is bringing relief rainfall and with it disruption concerns. The meteorological setup we have at the moment involves low pressure systems trying to push in from the Atlantic, but they are encountering higher pressure building to the northeast. These systems are stalling, moving very slowly, and that why we're seeing such prolonged rainfall in some areas whilst others remain relatively dry. Now here's what changes. And this is where we need to pay close attention to the models. The GFS, ECMWF, and UK Met Office models are showing increasing agreement. That is significant. When these three converge on a pattern, confidence increases substantially. What we are seeing is high pressure building between Greenland and Scandinavia. This is the key. As this block establishes itself, low pressure systems that would normally track across the UK from west to east are instead being forced southwards. The jet stream is diving down towards Spain, carrying these lows with it. This setup turns the wind direction. Initially for Scotland through the weekend, then more widely across England by early next week, we're re-looking at easterly winds developing. These easterlies will be dragging in air from the North Sea and Scandinavia, that cold air. In some model runs, very cold air. The transition happens Saturday through Sunday for northern areas. Further south and west, probably into early next week. The exact timing and intensity are still being refined by the models, but the pattern is becoming clearer with each run. Let us talk about temperatures. The GFS ensembles show a marked shift towards below average temperatures from around the 25th of January onwards. We're currently sitting at or slightly above average, but by the weekend, temperatures begin dropping. Northern areas could see low single digits by Saturday. Further south, 6 to 7 degrees initially, then falling through Sunday and Monday. By early next week, we could be looking at widespread low single-digit temperatures. Some model runs are suggesting -5 to -10 degrees Celsius at the 850 millibar level. That the atmospheric layer roughly 1,500 meters up, and it's a good indicator of air mass characteristics. Now, -5 at that level typically translates to surface temperatures around freezing to 2 degrees. -10 at 850 millibars could give us surface temperatures well below freezing, possibly down to -5 or -6 Celsius in some areas. A few ensemble members are even showing -15 at 850 millibars, which would be bitterly cold. That is getting into Beast from the East Territory, though I should stress those runs are in the minority. Is this as extreme as 2018? Probably not quite at that level, but it is potentially comparable to what we saw in February 2021 or even earlier this month. For those who remember the big freeze of 1962 to 63 or the Burnsday storm of 1990, this won TB in that league. But it is significant enough to warrant preparation. What does this mean for precipitation? This is where it gets interesting. With easterly winds established, we'll see wintry showers developing, particularly affecting eastern and southeastern coasts. These showers will be snow at any elevation with the cold air in place. Where the wind is strong enough, these could push as far west as Manchester. Northern Scotland will likely see heavy wintry showers as well, but the more significant events come when areas of low pressure try to push up from the south and encounter this cold air mass. The models are showing several potential systems attempting this. When mild, moist Atlantic air meets very cold continental air, you get snow, sometimes heavy snow. The GFS is showing what could be substantial snow events, particularly for the Midlands, parts of Wales and southern England, even areas south of the M4 corridor. London seeing snow is unusual but not unheard of, and some runs are suggesting it's possible. The ECMWF has been more conservative over recent days, but it is now trending towards this colder scenario as well. The UK Met Office model, which tends to be more cautious with cold forecasts, is also showing easterlies developing and temperatures dropping. For Scotland, after the heavy rain clears by the weekend, you will transition to drier but much colder conditions. Wintry showers from the east, potentially heavy at times. The Scottish Highlands and higher ground will see significant snowfall accumulations. Northern England, particularly the northeast, Yorkshire, and areas around the Pennines, you RE in the firing line for easterly snow showers. These can be persistent and heavy when they get going. The Midlands face an interesting situation, currently experiencing rather dull, mild conditions. That changes dramatically next week. You are positioned where several of these potential snow events could track through. Central and southern Midlands could see accumulating snow from weather systems pushing up from the south. East Anglia, you've been waiting for some proper winter weather. The easterly wind direction favours your area for wintry conditions. You'll likely see the cold air arrive early, and snow showers will be frequent off the North Sea. Southern England faces uncertainty. Much depends on the exact track of those low-pressure systems. If they push far enough north, you will see snow. If they stay further south, it could be rain or sleet, particularly in the southwest. The line between rain and snow could be very sharp. Wales will see the transition as the week progresses. The heavy rain clears, winds veer to the east, and wintry conditions move in. Higher ground will certainly see snow. Lower levels depend on how deep the cold air gets. Now, let's be clear about confidence levels. For the next 3 days, the forecast is fairly straightforward. Wet and windy west, drier east, mild overall, high confidence. For the weekend transition to colder conditions, particularly for northern areas, confidence is building. The models are in good agreement. ID say we re at about 80 to 90% confidence that easterlies develop and temperatures drop significantly. For specific snow events next week, that S where uncertainty increases. We know the pattern is conducive to snow. We know cold air will be in place. But whether those low-pressure systems track in exactly the right position to give heavy, widespread snow, that requires watching the models closely over the next few days. Snow forecasting beyond 3 days out is unreliable at best. These precipitation spikes you might see on weather apps 10 days out don't put much stock in them. What should you be doing to prepare? For those in western areas currently dealing with the wet and windy weather, this passes by the weekend. But Don T put the winter kit away. You'll need it next week. Scotland, once this heavy rain clears, prepare for proper winter conditions. If you are in the Highlands, you know what to do. But even in the central belt, be ready for snow and ice. Northern England, particularly eastern areas, stock up on supplies if you can. Easterly snow showers can be persistent. If you're in a rural area, make sure you've got what you need in case travel becomes difficult. The Midlands and Southern England, this is less familiar territory for many of you. Most people don't keep snow shovels readily to hand, and that is fair enough. But it might be worth checking you've got de-icer, warm clothing, and that your heating system is working properly. If you can work from home later next week, that might be sensible. The roads want to be gritted as thoroughly as they would be further north. For elderly relatives or vulnerable neighbours, check in on them. Temperature swings can be challenging for health, and we've had people poorly for weeks with these back and forth conditions. When sustained cold moves in, make sure they re-prepared and have heating sorted. If you are driving, keep an eye on forecasts for your specific area. Ice will be a concern, particularly early morning and overnight. Give yourself extra time for journeys. If it does snow, remember the old trick if you get stuck. Cardboard or old carpet under the tyres for traction. Works a treat. Don T attempt to grit your drive multiple times in the same day if heavy snow is forecast. Wait until the worst has passed, otherwise you are wasting salt and effort. Friday evening would be better than Thursday morning if the models are correct. For those on the east coast, large waves remain a concern through Wednesday with those southeasterly winds. Stay away from exposed sea fronts. Looking further ahead, this cold pattern could persist into early February. Some ensemble members suggest we could reload for another cold spell even if there is a brief respite. The polar vortex situation is being watched closely as well. If we see further disruption there, it could support extended cold. But we are not looking at apocalypse here. This is winter. Cold weather happens, snow happens. We've seen worse, particularly those of you who remember 1987 or 1963. This deserves attention and preparation, but it's not unprecedented. The models will continue to refine this forecast. Check back for updates, particularly as we get closer to the weekend. The Met Office will likely start issuing more specific warnings as we move into that 7-day time frame when they have higher confidence. The pattern is shifting. The mild, wet, unsettled conditions are coming to an end. Easterly winds and cold air are moving in. Snow is likely for many areas at some point next week. How much, exactly where, and precisely when? Those details are still being worked out. Stay informed, stay prepared, and don't panic. We'll get through this.